Okay. Now next, so this is what we studied, right? Living and non-living organisms. All of us, we have plenty of examples to give, right? So characteristics of living organism. This is the first point that I think so Yashika had shared, that living organisms work at a cellular level. You know, this is very important, at a cellular level, as in they have cells, and which is like unicellular, like amoeba is unicellular, right? There is something called a paramecium. You know, this is how a paramecium looks. This is unicellular, right? A euglena. This is how a euglena looks. A euglena is unicellular, right? These are all unicellular organisms. These could be made out of 1 cell, 2 cells, 5 cell, 10 cell, million cells, but they have cells. Anything that has cell will have life. This is just, you know, equivalent. Cell means life. It is a basic unit of life. Correct? Now,
Most living things, however, are made up of millions of cells. They are called multicellular organisms. For example, mango plant, rose plant, pea plant, man, housefly, dog, and cat. Cells help in carrying out various functions like nutrition, respiration, excretion, etc. They
correct.
are, they are called the structural and functional units of an organism, of organisms.
Correct. So basically, you know, what they mean to say is that, you know, be it unicellular, be it multicellular, they will have cell. And if they have cells, they will carry out various functions. What are the various functions? One
Ma'am,
is, yes, Neha?
sorry for interrupting that. In the heading you have given cellular organization.
Yeah, it will not be cellular organization basically. It will not be, I think so by mistake they must have written it wrongly. It will be basically the cellular characteristic presence of cells. It will be cells, right? Not cellular organization. Okay. So, you know, the various functions that they will carry out will be nutrition, respiration, excretion, right? And many other functions. Okay. Next, characteristics of living organisms.
Ma'am, I'm not sure that does amoeba has some pores, something like that. Through that, does it take oxygen?
Correct. So Pragya and Neha are almost correct. So remember, I had discussed the point called diffusion. I don't know how many of you remember. Diffusion is basically, you know, when there is a semi-permeable membrane and there is air outside and there is no air this side. So what happens is that inter-exchange, you know, of gases can happen through this semi-permeable membrane. So there are these very small pores on the surface through which inter-exchange of gases happen. So in case of amoeba, this is what happens. It takes dissolved oxygen from the water or from its environment and it respires. So that is how respiration takes place. And how does multicellular respire? We human beings have a proper lungs. You know, we have like a developed lungs, right? So we breathe through lungs. Though we have, you know, millions and millions of cells, but we also respire, right? Now coming to excretion. So similarly, how does amoeba or any unicellular organism excrete? Same way, they excrete through osmosis. What is osmosis? Osmosis is when certain liquid substances, same semi-permeable membrane, there are certain liquids, for example, this is the amoeba, right? Through this semi-permeable membrane, it excretes out certain liquid. This is how it takes water also and it excretes out its waste. This is osmosis, right? And in human being, how does excretion happen? We to have a very exhaustive, you know, digestive system. We have those small intestine, we have large intestine.
Ma'am, I got disconnected when you were explaining about the excretion.
We are still on excretion. So what I said is that, amoeba excretes through osmosis, right? And human beings, we have a digestive system where excretion happens, and we also have an excretory system. Semi-permeable means, it will allow only certain things, certain materials to pass through. It will not allow everything to pass through. That is known as semi-permeable. How many of you know what is exactly osmosis and what is diffusion? This is very important to understand. You know what is a raisin?
Ma'am, it's a kishmish.
It is kishmish, right?
Yeah.
It is kishmish. So when you see kishmish, it is very dry and wrinkled, isn't it? These are basically dried grapes. Yes, right. They are dried grapes. Now, take a small, maybe bowl, fill it up with water, and place a few raisins in that, bowl filled with water. After 1 hour, what will you observe? It would be the raisins will all get swollen.
Yeah,
Isn't it? They would absorb a lot of water and they would get swollen. They would become round and they would become a little fat. Right? So now what has happened? Osmosis has happened. Osmosis has happened. If this is water and if this is the raisin which was very dry, so osmosis is a process, by which water transfers from one medium to another through a semi-permeable membrane. So water can travel either ways, depending on whichever area has less water.
Ma'am, can you write the definitions?
Repeat it again.
Ma'am, why is osmosis important?
Osmosis is important because a unicellular organism, the amoeba that we were discussing, it does not have a mouth, it does not have a nose. So how will it breathe? How will it respire?
Ma'am, maybe it has some pores.
It respires through osmosis, through diffusion. Sorry,
Okay.
gases. So it is through diffusion. Right? So that's the reason why I'm discussing osmosis as well as diffusion. You need to have a clear understanding about what is osmosis and what is diffusion.
Ma'am, actually, I'm getting a little confused as I was just surfing the net and I saw a video of osmosis, and it was somewhat like it. What I understood, it was like if we put a saltwater fish into freshwater habitat, then the fish would die because of change of conditions. So I'm getting a little confused with what you're saying now.
No, that is a high level of osmosis that has happened. That is not only an example of osmosis, that is also an example of, habitat change. That is at a higher level. Just do, the example of a raisin that I gave is a classical example of osmosis. The way something draws and absorbs water, that is osmosis. The plants that are there, the roots that's there underneath, when you water the roots, how do you think the roots absorb water and sends it to the stem? It is through osmosis. There are fine root hairs, so these root hairs inside, if you see, they are also made out of cells. These are semi-permeable membrane which absorbs the water from the soil, and then through capillary force it sends it to the stem. So osmosis is a very important aspect with regards to living organisms. Because plants do not have a mouth or a nose through which they will sip water or drink water, no? Then what? How do they have water? They have water through osmosis.
Ma'am, osmosis and one more was there, something starting with D. I forgot about that word.
Diffusion.
Diffusion. Ma'am, that diffusion is like excretion of gas, right?
Not really excretion of gas. It is an inter-exchange. So the root hairs actually diffuse, they actually have osmosis going on, and that is how they suck the water from the soil. All the water that you do while watering the plant, we see the soil is wet, but how does the root absorb it? Through osmosis, right? So osmosis is a process through which you can write water or maybe any liquid is exchanged through a exchanged from one medium, there has to be two mediums involved, to another through a semi-permeable membrane. So this is osmosis. And what is the diffusion? What is diffusion? You just delete this and make it gases. Then it becomes diffusion.
Now, I wanted to ask something like, is exchange till that it's clear for me from one medium to another. Medium, what is it?
So medium in case of a raisin. Raisin is a medium and water is another medium. This is medium number 1, this is medium number 2. So from here to here it came. These are the two mediums. In case of roots, root is one medium, soil is another medium, water has come here to there. Not there, but only one way it has come because the root has to absorb water. Is it clear to all?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Now tell me, who can give me a good example of diffusion? Now all of you know what is diffusion, what is osmosis. Give me one good example of diffusion. It chooses. Okay. Diffusion in perfume, for example, this is the drawing room, right? This is a drawing room. This is the bedroom. And this is the kitchen, right? So this is the kind of a layout of your house, right? Now somebody is there. For example, maybe Anjali is there in the bedroom, right? And she has used a perfume, right? She has used a perfume here, but the fragrance of the perfume has come to the drawing room. How did this happen? Who can answer?
So I think the door was open, so the smell, it traveled through the air particles and
Exactly. So you just said that the door was open, right? So if the door was open, how did it pass through? So what if the door was open? The door is open of all the entire house. Slowly, the smell will also go to the kitchen. Slowly, the entire house will have the fragrance of the perfume. How and why did this happen? Yes, Anjali, it will spread through air. But how does it spread through air? So this process is called diffusion. This process is called diffusion. Here, you really do not need a semi-permeable membrane. Here, you do not need a semi-permeable membrane. But here, what happens is that in the drawing room, there were like normal air, right? Like carbon, oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, everything was there. So was it in the bedroom. But all of a sudden, because Anjali used this perfume, so these are the molecules of the perfume. And here in this bedroom, the concentration was very high. And in drawing room and kitchen, it was just the normal air that was there. It was full of the normal air. So here the concentration is high, but always things have to be always equal. So certain molecules of the perfume started spreading out, so that all the molecules, the blue as well as the red molecules, are exactly equal in the entire house. That is how we get the smell of fragrance from one room to the other room. Basically, all the molecules, the red molecules as well as the blue molecules, have to be equal at some point in time. Till then, the exchange of gases will keep happening from one room to the other, and this. So food is required by every living organism. If there is a cell, it requires food. It is quite but obvious. Food provides us energy so that we can perform different activities during the day. Just imagine, be it a unicellular, be it a microscopic, be it an amoeba, but if it doesn't have energy, can it even move? Can it even create pseudopodia and capture the the food? Can it even locomote? Can it even move? Nothing is possible without energy. Every cell, every living organism needs energy. This is the first and foremost thing. Just imagine, for 6 hours you do not have any food. In the 7th hour you will start feeling so lackadaisical. Your mouth will start drying up. You will feel so lethargic. You will feel drained off, because it's a question of trillions of cells which are almost getting dehydrated. Right? Your eyes will shrink. You will feel a little tired and lifeless. Just imagine if you continue that for 24 hours. You will not be able to probably talk fluently. Your brain will be fogged. There will be disorientation. You will just feel like lying down. Why?
Now what's caused?
Foggy brain. Foggy brain means the brain will refuse to think. The brain will not work properly to its maximum potential. That is known as a foggy brain. मतलब you're seeing something but you're not able to understand ये organism लिखा है, is it organism or gorganism, the brain will not work at its full efficiency. Why? Because the brain is made out of cells, and the cells need food, and it requires water, and you're not giving it anything. So slowly the brain cells will get shrinked like this. It will become filled with food, because we know that proteins are the building block, right? With proteins only new cells take birth. And if these cells are dying, new cells have to come in place. Otherwise, so, your organs will fail. There is a lot of damage of cells that happens on a daily basis. Who will repair it? Only the proteins will come and repair it. So if you do not have proteins, how will it repair? How will the new cells take birth? The dead cells, and then all the dead cells will just kind of accumulate in your body, and your body will become toxic. Correct? And if you don't even have water, then you can't even excrete this toxic out of your body. Through urine, sweat, nothing will happen. So this will get accumulated in your body, and you will start feeling unwell. Right? So food is very much important. Animals obtain ready-made food in the form of milk, bread, wheat, eggs, meat, pulses, fruits and vegetables. Okay, this is basically, animals, herbivores, carnivores, they get ready-made food at times. At times they hunt for it, and many a times they get it directly, right? But green plants can prepare their own food. They are the only selfless, living organism that we have. They are the best, because they are the ones who gives food to everyone. Can you create food? Can you make food using sunlight? Can human being make food using sunlight, carbon dioxide, water? Can anybody make food in the kitchen? Just imagine you stand in a sunlight, you take some gas, you take some water. Can you make butter paneer masala out of that? Butter paneer out of that? No. But plants are the only things. Out of nothing, they can do so many things. Just imagine such sweet sugar cane. They create out of sunlight, carbon dioxide or water alone. All the juicy apples and oranges that we have. What is it made out of? Anything extra? No. It is also made out of sunlight, carbon dioxide and water.